Here we go again. Another so-called black man has been gunned down in cold blood in Florida over a parking space. Take a look at this report and then we'll continue.
In Clearwater, Florida, protesters are demanding charges after a parking lot argument ended in a deadly shooting. The sheriff said the gunman would not be charged because of Florida's Stand Your Ground law. Meg Oliver has this story.
And all Marquise did was try to protect his family. He didn't do nothing wrong. He didn't do nothing wrong.
The shooting death of Brittany Jacobs' boyfriend and father of three, Marquise McLaughlin, was caught on this convenience store video Thursday afternoon. It starts with a couple parking illegally in a handicapped spot. You can see McLaughlin walk inside with his 5-year-old son. Shortly after, this man, 47-year-old Michael Draka, confronts Jacobs for parking without a permit.
He was just basically saying that I need to move the car, and he got family that's handicapped, and I need to move the car now.
Moments later, McLaughlin returns and slams Draka to the ground. Draka whips out a gun and fires a single shot into McLaughlin's chest. The 28-year-old stumbled back into the store and collapsed in front of his son. He died later at the hospital.
He believed that McLaughlin was going to come back at him, and he fired in a very short amount of time, a few seconds, 4 seconds probably, somewhere in that range. That is within the bookends of Stand Your Ground.
Florida's Stand Your Ground law allows residents to use deadly force if they reasonably believe they are at risk of death or great bodily harm. Jacobs can't comprehend how Draka walked away a free man.
And I'm doing the best I can for Marquise. I'm trying to stand by his side and be strong as I can. But this is not over at all. This is not over.
That again was Meg Oliver reporting. Brittany Jacobs tells us police wouldn't let her ride in the ambulance with McLaughlin. Instead, police took her to the station for questioning, and that's where she learned he was pronounced dead. His funeral is planned for sometime next Saturday.
So here you have a man who is not a parking enforcement officer. He's not a parking enforcement officer. He's not a police. This is supposed to be a stranger that saw that these people parked in a handicapped space. He approaches them and confronts them. He approaches them and confronts them. Come very close to the woman who was on the driver's side. The guy comes out from the store, pushes him away. He falls to the ground and pull out a gun and shoot him in the heart, in the chest. Is that a reason for you to pull out a gun and shoot someone and kill them? Is that a reason for me to pull out a gun and shoot you? So here we are. I come and confront you. I am not a police officer. I am not a parking enforcement officer. But I approaches you where you took a handicapped space. I am not even a handicapped. The man was not even a handicapped. He was not handicapped. He's not trying to use that space. He just saw them that they parked on a handicapped space. He approaches them and begins to confront the woman. And then he pushes him. He pulls out a gun and shoots him in the chest. Now, to you, this seems like a normal incident. And then the sheriff guy, the sheriff said that he won't be charged. He won't be charged for killing a man. That's what the sheriff said, that this falls into Stand Your Ground in Florida. So I can come up to you, I can come to you. I can approach you. Think about this logic. I can come to you or to your wife and confront you and start up a confrontation. And then you pushes me away, and then I will pull out a gun and kill you and claim that I'm standing my ground. So because of their so-called Stand Your Ground law, he will not be persecuted. He will not be persecuted because of their so-called Stand Your Ground law. So you go and confront someone and start trouble. If they confront you back, you can kill them. This is the law. This is the American law. This is the American law. That's American law for you. Now, I'm going to show you another case of stand your ground. Take a look at this case. Now, you just saw what happened. So this European man, an European man sees people, so-called African Americans that parked in a handicapped. He went and confronted them. The man comes out from the store and pushes him away. He pulls out a gun and shoots him in the chest, killing him. And the sheriff says that he will not be charged. He will not be charged because he was standing his ground. Now, I'm going to show you another case of stand your ground law. This is a totally different case. Take a look at this and see the similarities and see what happened in this case. Take a look at this.
She walks down the jail hallway in handcuffs. Marissa Alexander has been sentenced to 20 years behind bars, convicted of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. She says she was defending herself, standing her ground from a husband who had been arrested before on charges of abusing her.
He was arrested for doing what to you?
He choked me. He pushed me forcefully into the tub. He pushed me so hard into the closet that I hit my head against the wall and I kind of passed out for a second.
Her husband received probation after that incident. Months later, Alexander says she was in the bathroom at their home here in Jacksonville, Florida, when her husband started pounding on the door. She says he was in a jealous rage over text messages on her cell phone.
He managed to get the door open, and that's when he strangled me. He put his hands around my neck.
Alexander got away from her husband and then made a fateful decision. She could have run out the front door and escaped. Instead, she ran into the garage, but says she did not have her car keys and the garage door was stuck. So instead, she grabbed her gun she kept in this garage.
And what did you think you were going to do with it?
I thought that I was going to have to protect myself.
Were you thinking you might have to shoot him?
Yeah, I did. If it came to that. He saw my weapon at my side, and when he saw it, he was even more upset, and that's when he threatened to kill me.
But how is he going to kill you if you're the one with the gun?
I agree. I thought it was crazy too.
But why didn't you run out the door at that point?
There was no other way to get out the door. He was right there threatening to kill me.
What if you would have gone around him to go out the door? And your life would have been easier today if you did that.
Yeah, but the law states I don't have to.
The law she's talking about is the controversial stand your ground law. Instead of running, she did what she thought was allowed by law. She believed she stood her ground and fired the gun into the wall. Nobody was hurt, but it was enough to scare her husband, Rico Gray, and he left the house with his 2 young children from a previous relationship. Alexander was safe from her husband, but not from the law. She was arrested, her stand your ground defense rejected, and found guilty by a jury. Marissa Alexander's husband, Rico Gray, agreed to do an on-camera interview with us to counter his wife's allegations. But a few hours later, he made the decision not to do the interview, claiming that going on camera would put his life in danger. However, later, he sent us an email saying he would do an interview if he got paid, which CNN does not do. But he has already said quite a bit. During a deposition with a prosecutor from the Office of State Attorney Angela Corey and a defense attorney for his wife, Rico Gray acknowledged hitting his wife in the past and said this about the shooting incident, quote, "If my kids weren't there, I knew I probably would have tried to take the gun from her. I probably would have put my hand on her." Marissa Alexander's attorney then asked the husband what he meant about putting his hand on her. And Rico Gray responded, "Probably hit her. I got 5 baby mamas, and I put my hands in every last one of them except for one."
I believe when he threatened to kill me, that's what he was going to do. That's exactly what he intended to do. And had I not discharged my weapon at that point, I would not be here.
But later, at a court hearing to determine whether Marissa Alexander should get immunity based on the stand your ground law, Rico Gray changed his story, saying he lied repeatedly in the deposition to protect his wife, claiming he did not threaten to kill her, and testifying, quote, "I begged and pleaded for my life when she had the gun." The jury deliberated for 12 minutes before convicting her. The Jacksonville NAACP wrote a letter to the trial judge, saying Marissa Alexander may not have received justice because of her gender, race, or economic status. Some African-American news websites are saying much the same thing, that if Marissa had been white, her stand-your-ground defense would have been accepted, and she wouldn't be facing 20 years in prison. But Alexander will not say if she agrees with that possibility.
I'm going to be honest with you, I'm uncomfortable answering that.
For now, Marissa Alexander's main hope is that an appellate court agrees to hear her case.
Wow.
She had a baby girl with Rico Gray 3 years ago, but she only sees her child in photographs. Rico Gray has custody. He's considered the victim, his wife the criminal.
This is my life I'm fighting for. This is my life. And it's my life, and it's not entertainment. It is my life.
The 20-year sentence is a mandatory 20 years, meaning no chance of parole. Gary Tuckman, CNN, Jacksonville, Florida.
So, as you saw, this man was trying to kill this woman. He himself even admitted. He even admitted that if she was not holding that gun, that he would have put his hands on him, on her. Did you hear that? He admitted that if she was not holding a gun, that he would have put his hands on her, just like he has been putting his hands on other baby mamas that he has. That's what he said. Now, mind you that in this case, he was not killed. This woman, this so-called African-American woman, will be spending 20 years in prison. 20 years in prison for trying to protect herself from a man that admitted that if she wasn't holding that gun, that he would have attacked her. I'm trying to piece links together here for you. I'm trying to put this together and piece links together. So he admitted that he would have put his hands on her. He would have attacked her if she wasn't holding that gun. He was not shot. And yet, they are sending her to 20 years in prison. America is not safe for the so-called black people. America is dangerous. The so-called black people are not safe in America. America is a very dangerous place for black people. And I keep saying so-called. Why am I saying so-called? I'm saying so-called because the so-called black people, you're not black. You are not black. I am not black. So for you to let someone, this is black over here. This is black. This is not the color of your skin. This and this is not the same. There is a difference between this and this. So you are not black. You are not black. The thing that really frustrates me a lot, as you can see in the last video that you saw people that were saying that this is happening to this woman because of her skin, because of who she is. She doesn't believe that. She said that she doesn't agree with that. So here she's being persecuted because of who she is. And she herself did not believe that she's being persecuted for who she is. So how do you help someone like that? How in the world do you help someone who is being persecuted because of who they are? And yet they themselves doesn't believe that they're being persecuted for that. The so-called black people are not safe in America. This is all happening because of who you are. Because you are a Hebrew Israelite. This is the same thing that was happening in Egypt to your ancestor. If you are a so-called black person, you are a Hebrew Israelite. It's so frustrating when you don't want to accept who you are. You are not black. There is no country called black. There is no country in the world called black. There is no country called African American. You are not African American. You are not even an American. When the Constitution of the United States was written, when their constitution was written, they said that all men are created equal. But when they were saying this, They were holding your ancestors as slaves. In their own constitution, they say that you are a three-quarter of a human being. You're not even a full human being according to their own constitution. According to their own so-called law, you are not even a full human being. So when they say that all men are created equal by God, that doesn't include you. It's so frustrating when you don't understand this. You need to open your eyes and realize who you are. This is happening because of who you are. You are a descendant of the Hebrew Israelites. That's why this is happening to you. That's why this is happening. This is something that happened in Egypt. Go and read the book of Exodus. This is exactly the same thing that the Egyptians was doing to your ancestors. They were passing laws trying to persecute you from their laws. With their laws, like the 3 strike. The same thing that the Egyptian people was doing by killing your males. That's exactly the same thing happening right now. That's why they gave you Planned Parenthood, to limit your population. So the thing is that you don't want to accept who you are. You don't want to wake up and realize who you are and realize why this is happening. You are a descendant of the Hebrew Israelites. That's why this is happening to you. That's why all these things are happening to you. Because your God kept warning you. After your ancestors came out of Egypt, your God delivered you out of Egypt miraculously. He delivered your ancestors. Using Moses, he delivered you, made you pass through the Red Sea. You went into your land, and there was a covenant that was made between your God and your ancestors, that your ancestors must keep all the laws and the commandment of God. And if they don't keep the laws and the commandment of God, they will be scattered in the 4 corners of the earth. They will be scattered worldwide. So when you look at those in Jamaica, those in Belize, those in Trinidad, your ancestors has been scattered in the 4 corners of the earth. Your people has been scattered worldwide. That's why you're going through these things. The Europeans are your enemies. Yeah, let me say that again. The Europeans are your enemies. Your friend will never take you as a slave. Your friend will not take you as slave. Only your enemy will take you as slave. Did you know about the Black Wall Street in Tulsa, Oklahoma? How they burned down. Did you know that the U.S. government was flying plane and dropping bombs and destroying a particular city in America? Did you know that happened? Yeah, they won't teach you that in school. When the so-called African Americans decided to come together and invest within themselves, they began to prosper. The Europeans got jealous and they framed up a Hebrew man, a so-called black man, saying that he raped a white woman. That was a precept for them to come in and burn down the whole city. Go and look it up. Use your phone. Go to Google and type in Black Wall Street. Go to YouTube and type in Black Wall Street and look it up yourself. Black Wall Street. That was something that happened in Oklahoma. So they are constantly treating you as an enemy. But you don't want to accept that. You don't want to accept who you are. I want you to imagine, think about this. Imagine this being the other way around. I guarantee you that particular black man, so-called black man, will be in prison right now. If what happened in that parking space or that parking lot, if it was the other way around, this man will be in jail right now. But because it is what it is, he's not in. This particular European man is not in jail. These are your enemies. They are your enemies. If you look at Psalm 105 verse 25, Psalm 105 verse 25, Psalm 105 verse 25, it says that God made the Egyptians to hate his people. God made the Egyptians to hate his people. These people have a deep deep-rooted hatred for you. Deep-rooted. Americans are giving free money to other countries while your people are languishing on the street as homeless old men and women. Americans are giving billions of dollars to other countries to buy guns and bombs while your own people are languishing on the street. These people have deep-rooted hatred for you. You need to wake up and realize what's happening. You are a Hebrew Israelite. You are going through the curses of Deuteronomy chapter 28. That's why this is happening. I remember a study that was done. There was a particular study that was done where they brought a resume. They brought a resume and they put a white sounding name on that resume. They put a white sounding name. That resume was accepted by companies. So by having something like Elizabeth Warren or Elizabeth Jackson or whatever, when they put a white sounding name, companies was accepting that resume. But they took the same resume, put a black sounding name on that resume. Companies was not taking it. They were not, just because of the name, because they assumed that this is a so-called African American. So they were not accepting that resume. This is real. This is happening. This is happening. You need to wake up. You have to wake up and realize what's happening. Protesting, jumping up and down, screaming will not save you. It will not save you. Trying to protest and trying to get them to change the law. No, the law was designed to punish you. According to the FBI statistics, go and look it up, 2016. According to FBI statistics, the Europeans commit more crime in America. But you go to the prison system, you see that in the prison, there's a lot more so-called African Americans. How in the world is that possible? How can the FBI admit, because they collect all the reports from the police department, they collect reports of arrests and crimes. How can they say that white people commit more crimes? But then you go to the prison system, the prison bureau will tell you that there's a lot more African Americans in the prison. How is that possible? America is unsafe for you. You are in danger in America. The only thing that will save you is to go back and start keeping the laws and the commandment of your God. That is the only thing that will save you. You are a Hebrew Israelite. Your God is doing this to you. Your God is the one that raised up the Europeans to take your ancestors as slaves. Why not start from Leviticus chapter 26? Read Leviticus chapter 26 so that you can see for yourself. Read Leviticus 26. Read the whole chapter. If you don't have a Bible, use your phone and Google it. Use your phone and Google it and read it. Leviticus chapter 26, also Deuteronomy chapter 28. Read those two places and you will see for yourself. Why is it that they tell you that Jesus is white, but yet you go into the Bible, you go to Acts of Apostles, they look just like you. The people you read in the Bible look just like you, and yet they tell you that he is white. You go to Exodus, Moses looks just like you. Go to Acts of Apostles, Paul looks just like you. You need to wake up. You have to wake up and realize what's happening. You are going to be next. You will be next. It doesn't matter whether you are a man or woman. Don't forget Sandra Bland or Sandra Blank, whatever her name was. Don't forget how they killed her. Sandra Bland. So you may be thinking that, oh, I'm a woman, this is not going to happen to me. You're joking. You're going to be next. These people have a deep-rooted hatred for you. It's a spiritual thing going on here. Your God is the one that raised up the Europeans against you. That's why they took you as slave. That's why they are oppressing you. That's why they are doing all these things. Because you are a Hebrew Israelite. Because your ancestors started disobeying the laws and the commandment of the Most High. Your ancestors stopped keeping the laws in this book. And your God kept warning them, if you don't keep my laws, I will scatter you in the four corners of the earth, and your enemies will rule over you. Those that hate you will rule over you. That's exactly what's happening today. And there's nothing you can do about it other than to go back and start keeping the laws and the commandment of your God. Stop being in denial. Stop being in denial, deceiving yourself. You need to wake up and realize what's happening, realize why this is happening, realize who you are, go back and start keeping the laws and the commandment of your God. If you have any question, if you want to start with the book of Jubilees, download the book of Jubilees, start with the book of Jubilees, the book of Exodus. Go back and start reading the scripture and begin to keep the laws and the commandment. This is the main problem that you have today. Because you realize that if you accept who you are, you're going to have to change your life. You know that. That's why most of the Hebrew Israelites, who are known as African Americans, are rejecting who they are. They're refusing to accept who they are because they don't want to give up their lifestyle. As a Hebrew, you're supposed to have your beard. As a Hebrew, you're supposed to dress a certain way. You're supposed to act like a Hebrew. Read Luke chapter 21. Luke chapter 21, you will see how your ancestors migrated into Africa. It happened in 70 AD. They will never teach you this in the school system. Europeans are your enemies. You need to wake up and realize that before you yourself will become a victim very soon. The so-called African Americans are in danger in America. You are living in the land of your enemy, and they will slaughter you at any chance that they get, and nothing will happen. They will kill you at any chance that they get, and they will go free because you are going through the curses of Deuteronomy chapter 28 and Leviticus chapter 26. Your ancestors used to be in Jerusalem up until 70 AD. Go and study about the Roman invasion of Jerusalem in 70 AD. Roman invasion of Jerusalem that happened in 70 AD. That was when your ancestors migrated into Africa and settled around Zimbabwe. Some of them went into Western Africa and settled around the modern day Igbo, the modern day Igbo land. Your ancestors came from the Igbo tribe. You are a Hebrew, Negroes, Igbos. So from there, your God sent the Europeans, and they came in the 1600 and took your ancestors as slaves and took you to the Americas where you are today. You are a descendant of a Hebrew Israelite. You are not black. You are not African American. Stop deceiving yourself. Wake up and accept who you are. Wake up and accept your heritage, your identity. Go back and start keeping the laws and the commandment of your God. If you keep ignoring this, you are going to be next. You are going to be their next victim. And when they will shoot you, as you are taking your last breath, you are going to look back and remember, yeah, I remember that video that I watched on YouTube. I should have listened. Wake up. You are a Hebrew. This is nothing new. This is the same way that our Heavenly Father, your God, sent the Philistines against your ancestors. Read the book of Judges. Start from Judges chapter 1. Read the book of Judges. This is the same way your ancestors sent the Assyrians against your ancestor, the Babylonians, the Greeks, and then now you have the Europeans. It's the same thing. Nothing has changed. It's the same thing. The same thing you're going through today is the same thing your ancestors went through in Egypt. Don't be a fool. Don't die like a fool. Don't die like a fool. Don't die like a coward who is foolish enough not to accept his identity. You are a Hebrew Israelite. Wake up. The Europeans are your enemies. Wake up. Go back and start keeping the laws and the commandment of your God. Protesting will not save you. Marching will not save you. Going to their school system will not save you. They will slaughter you at any chance that they get. You are going through the curses of Leviticus chapter 26, Deuteronomy chapter 28. The Europeans are your enemies. This is not a coincidence. This is not just happening just for the sake of happening. This is a spiritual thing going on. Read Leviticus chapter 26 and you will see it for yourself. You are a Hebrew Israelite. But if you ignore all of this and you think that this is crazy and you want to continue to live your life the way you're living right now, you don't want to keep the laws of your God, you are going to be their next victim. Eventually, they will hunt you down. Wake up. Wake up. You are in danger in America. You are in danger. America is dangerous for you. It's the land of your enemy. That is the land of your enemy. And the only way you are going to get protection is by going back to this book, going back to the scriptures, and beginning to keep the laws and the commandments of your God. I'm not talking about Christianity. This is not about Christianity. Christianity is a pagan religion. Christianity is an European religion. You are a Hebrew. If you go to this book, from Genesis to Revelation, from Genesis to Revelation is talking about the Hebrews. This is your book. This is the book of your people. I am not talking about Christianity right here. I'm talking about the Hebrews. You are a true Hebrew Israelite. You need to start keeping the laws and the commandments of your God. But if you ignore this, you will eventually be the next victim. You will eventually fall by their sword. They will eventually kill you, whether you are a man or woman. It doesn't matter. Wake up and realize what's happening. You are a Hebrew Israelite, and your God is using the Europeans to punish you. That's what's going on. That's why you see all this killing. And they are going free. They are being held not guilty, just like it says in the scripture, that they will kill you and they will hold themselves not guilty. Wake up. You are not black. You are not African American. You are a descendant of the ancient Hebrew Israelites. Wake up and realize what's happening. If you have any question, download the Coming Kingdom app on your phone. Download the Coming Kingdom app and feel free to contact me from there. If you have any question about this, download the Coming Kingdom app on your phone. Feel free to contact me. Go back and start keeping the laws and the commandments. Start with Leviticus chapter 26, Deuteronomy chapter 28. Deuteronomy 28, Leviticus 26, start with those scriptures. Read it first and then go back and start reading all the scriptures. Start keeping the laws and the commandment of your God. Wake up and realize what's happening, or else you are going to be the next. Eventually, they will shoot you down. Eventually, they will gun you down. America is dangerous for black people. Black people are in danger in America, and that includes you, because you are living in the land of your enemy. And the only thing that will save you is to go back and start keeping the laws and the commandment of your God. You have been warned. In 2 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 17 and 18. 2 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 17 and 18. Your God says, come out from among them and be ye separate. Come out from among them and be ye separate. You are supposed to be separate. You're supposed to be holy. Leviticus 20, 26. You are supposed to be holy. You are a Hebrew. You are not a Gentile. You are not a heathen. You are a Hebrew Israelite. In Isaiah chapter 48, verse 20, Isaiah 48, verse 20, your God says, deliver thyself from the daughter of Babylon. Deliver thyself. In Revelation chapter 18, verse 4, your God says, come out from her and be separate. Come out from her, lest you partake in her sins and go through her plagues. This is a warning that your God is giving you. You need to come out from among them physically, because that country is dangerous for you. It's dangerous. Your life is in danger. Read Leviticus chapter 26, Leviticus chapter 26, Deuteronomy chapter 28, and you will see for yourself. That's why these things are happening. And the only solution is to go back and start keeping the laws and the commandment of your God. You are not black. You are not African American. All those are nonsense terms that they've given you to distract you from your heritage. You are a Hebrew Israelite. And you're going through all these things. The so-called black people are going through all these things because of the curses in the book of Leviticus 26 and Deuteronomy chapter 28. That's why you're going through all these things. You need to go back and start keeping the laws and the commandment of your God. If you don't, get ready, because you are going to be their next victim. Eventually, they will shoot you down. Wake up and realize who you are. Go back to the laws and the commandment of your God. If you have any question, feel free to contact me. Download the Coming Kingdom app on your phone and contact me from there. Wake up and realize who you are before it's too late.